argue that dangerous or suicidal veterans could have easy access to guns if this VA process is stopped.
Continue working with the urgency that this moment demands, because if we can save even one life from gun violence.
Sergeant Corey Brees has endured a lot, and so has his family. This morning, we take a look back at the early part of his journey.
On the Veterans Second Amendment Protection Act. Our veterans should not lose their right to bear arms and defend themselves or their families.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer reacted to the bipartisan gun deal unveiled over the weekend.
Deal with Schumer. Senator John Kennedy announced that he and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer had reached an agreement on an amendment that would keep arms out of the hands of military veterans whose finances go into conservatorship. Schumer had previously referred to this proposal as a poison pill for the Senate's minibus appropriations bill. The bill financing military construction, as well as the Departments of Veteran Affairs, Agriculture, Transportation, and Housing and Urban Development, had been delayed due to Kennedy's attempt to have a vote on his amendment. The senator from Louisiana now stated that, having agreed to change the wording, he anticipates a vote on his proposal. Kennedy consequently said that he would permit the much-delayed funding package to proceed. "I just got out of Chuck's work. I believe we have figured it out," Kennedy stated to The Hill. "We intend to implement a new language via a hotline. To be honest, I believe it strengthens my amendment. Not everyone will be content right now." Kennedy stated that the amendment's changes are being sent to the Senate's hotline, allowing every senator to evaluate it before taking the floor. Kennedy declared that Schumer and him had an agreement. "Initially, they wanted me to remove my amendment and I refused," he remarked. Kennedy, however, stated that he has no plans to withhold consent to the minibus now that he has an agreement.
Simply because they receive health care from the VA and have someone appointed to help them with their finances.
Bringing the Senate one step closer to finally responding to the plague of gun violence.
Argue that dangerous or suicidal veterans could have easy access to guns if this VA process is stopped.
Turns law-abiding gun owners into felons is a result of unelected bureaucrats simply enacting a new regulation.
It makes no sense to take away a veteran's constitutionally protected rights.
On the Senate floor, Schumer got into a heated debate with Susan Collins, the Republican vice chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, about the Kennedy Amendment, which he referred to as a poison pill. During floor discussion, Senator Kristen Sinema, Senate Republican Whip John Thune, and Chairwoman of the Senate Appropriations Committee Patty Murray discussed ways to end the impasse. Kennedy claimed that Schumer's decision to deny him a vote on the amendment pertaining to arm rights had blindsided him. "They caught me off guard. 5 weeks ago I filed my addendum. There were no concerns when everyone had a look at it," he claimed. "Suddenly there were a lot of Democrats who were upset about it. At this time, if you're a veteran and you go to the VA and say, 'I'm having trouble with my finances and I'd like your help,' the VA puts you in a conservatorship and your name automatically goes on the list and they take away your arms," Kennedy continued. The legislation that was approved by the House in July with 6 Democratic votes was identical to the senator's initial version of the amendment. Senate Democrats intend to try to thwart Kennedy's amendment on the floor, according to Senator Chris Murphy, one of the primary proponents of addressing armed crime. "It's a catastrophe. There will be a sharp increase in veteran slayings as a result. I will vote no," he declared. "I'm going to try to defeat it on the floor and vote against it." Murphy stated that he had no objection to the hotline request regarding Kennedy's amendment, even though it might have caused the minibus funding package to be delayed for longer. The veterans who are currently being refused access to arms, he claimed, have been deemed mentally incompetent. "I think there's a legitimate conversation about improving that process, but that's real trouble," he added, "if there is no longer a consensus among experts that individuals suffering from severe mental illness should not possess arms. Those who have been determined by the VA to be mentally incompetent are the only individuals that fall into this category," he declared. "The conclusion is that you are mentally incompetent, not that you can't balance your checkbook."
Make no mistake about it, we have a lot of work left to do before we actually pass a bill.
Currently, when a veteran appoints a fiduciary to help them manage their VA benefits,
continuing to meddle in city business, they've done that on a whole host, not just public safety, but this has been designed to withstand that.
Continue working with the urgency that this moment demands, because if we can save even one life from gun violence,
the VA automatically adds the veteran's name to a list that prevents them from purchasing a firearm.
Veterans losing arm rights. Congress is debating whether to overturn a VA policy that opponents claim denies veterans their right to possess arms and discourages them from getting medical attention. If veterans are unable to handle their funds, they may be reported to the FBI's background check system. 3 of his fellow military members were slain by a roadside bomb explosion in Baghdad in 2005, but National Guardsman Corey Breest escaped. He had a severe traumatic brain injury and was blind when he went home to South Dakota, requiring a wheelchair. Jennifer, his wife, claims that the majority of his mental abilities are still present. He keeps track of family birthdays, assists his kids with their academics, and is involved in the home finances. It doesn't matter if you can recall the date of today or what you had for lunch an hour ago, you can still recall the crucial details. More than anything else, that would have been difficult to lose, she remarked.
Brought you the story of a young South Dakota National Guard soldier who was severely injured in the war in Iraq.
The Veterans Second Amendment Protection Act. Our veterans should not lose their right to bear arms and defend themselves or their families.
Preemptively taking away citizens' God-given rights.
Sergeant Corey Breest has endured a lot, and so has his family. This morning, we take a look back at the early part of his journey.
And you should have a right to bear arms in this amazing country that we all live in, but you should be responsible in bearing those arms.
However, the Department of Veterans Affairs informed the Breests that they would need to choose a fiduciary, or someone to oversee Corey's financial matters due to his disability. A VA field examiner informed Corey that he could no longer own arms as a result of the modification. Corey said, "Well, hold on. It's my grandfather's arm. It came to me by inheritance. One day I'm going to pass it on to my son," Jennifer reminisced. The field examiner handled it with such rudeness. Corey received no compassion for me, wasn't giving an explanation. "Nope, you can't have that. That's against the law," he said. According to Jennifer, Corey was upset by the examiner's visit because he thought the VA was taking away more from him due to his injuries. The couple kept the family heirloom weapon in storage. It is VA protocol to report veterans who have been found incapable to handle their own finances to the FBI's background check system, NICS. Most arm purchases are screened by that system. According to a federal law cited by the VA, an individual who is incapable of managing their own affairs because of marked subnormal intelligence or mental illness, incompetency, condition, or disease is not allowed to carry an arm. Many of the individuals who are reported through these systems pose a risk to others or themselves. Lindsay Nichols, federal policy director of the Giffords Law Center to Prevent Arm Crime, stated, "We just simply don't know which ones." Thus, those suffering from dementia, severe mental diseases, bipolar disorder, and severe brain injuries are among them. Individuals with these disabilities are not inherently dangerous, but in addition to having ready access to arms, as they may put the public in danger. However, critics contend that the VA's standards for determining financial incompetence are ambiguous and that the appeals procedure is onerous and drawn out. According to Stacey Ray Simcox of the Stetson University Veterans Legal Clinic, the VA should need to go to court in order to take away a person's right to bear arms. Those who volunteered to defend the United States of America do not receive that benefit, the speaker stated. That is not logical at all. In the end, financial distress isn't a good indicator of danger, according to Simcox.
The program does not make any determination on veterans' mental health or the dangers they pose to others.
Important work of turning this framework into legislation and legislative language that can pass Congress.
Individuals' right to keep and bear arms. Well, what does that mean, right?
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer reacted to the bipartisan gun deal unveiled over the weekend.
Also, this bill was written with constitutionality in mind, so I definitely had a good feeling.
VA only considers a veteran's financial situation when determining mental incompetence. They do it often enough that many veterans are terrified to seek mental health benefits or care from the VA out of fear that they would lose their ability to bear arms and defend themselves. According to Simcox's observations of her clients, the fiduciary appointment process may occasionally be initiated by a veteran's attendance for a VA claim exam, also referred to as a compensation and pension exam rather than by regular doctor's appointments or therapy sessions. The C&P exam is used to assess eligibility for benefits related to disability. In a statement, the VA stated that before submitting veterans to the background check system, it conducts a thorough assessment. The Veterans Benefit Administration claims processors evaluate and ascertain whether a veteran who qualifies for financial assistance is also deemed mentally unable and unable to handle their finances and VA benefits. VA spokesman Terrence Hayes said in a statement that the agency conducts such evaluations when VA receives either medical evidence or a declaration by a court of jurisdiction that clearly and convincingly shows that the person is incapable of managing their VA benefit payments without limitation. Late in January, VA Secretary Dennis McDonough insisted that the agency's strategy is sound during a press conference. He stated, "The standard that is applied related to the fiduciary responsibilities is a standard that we take great care with, that has been developed over much time and is meant to address a very delicate situation. It's in the best interest of the veteran, as in everything we try to do here. The VA policy may be overridden by Congress. Last year, Montana Democrat John Tester successfully pushed a bill through the Senate that forbids the use of government funds to submit veterans to the background check system unless a court issues an order designating them as dangerous. McDonough insisted that veterans ought to feel secure enough to receive care at the VA. As I've expressed to members of Congress, I'm concerned that there is a false perception of how the VA handles discussions between a veteran and their medical professional. Those are private discussions," he declared. Inquiries about the mechanism underlying the fiduciary appointment process were not addressed by McDonough's office. The frequency with which the agency reports veterans to the background check system and the number of veterans who file appeals were also withheld. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.